Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. Now this morning I'm looking at a fascinating book from Edward Elgar, who are a family firm of independent publishers. They've produced a very substantial statement on what they call European competition law, and they've called it a case commentary. It's been written by two people. Now I hope I pronounce these names correctly. Weijer VerLoren van Themaat and Berend Reuder. Now I'm going to look at the book in a minute, but certainly it's an important area of law for anybody involved now in international commercial practice. Whether you're doing that at university or for the Bar or Law Society exams, I don't know. But certainly it is a standard, straightforward statement of where we are at the moment. We've given it a title, an illustrative, enlightening and downright useful current statement on European competition law, because that's what it is. Elizabeth and I looked at the book and we thought it was very interesting. It's a very heavy book. It's a hardback. You can see where it is. That's the front, the spine. You can see on the back there's a certain amount of information which you can probably see from that. It runs to something approaching nearly 900 pages, but it's actually nice paper. It's heavy though, the book. There's the index right at the back, and then you can see the actual index is quite substantial, as you can probably see. There's quite a lot of it. I'm going to move straight to the front of the book. There's the actual first main front page. You can see there are other commentaries in other areas of European law. Now this is how the book is structured. Part 1 starts it off, then it goes through the treatise, then part 2 on the Convention of Human Rights, and so forth. And then you've got an extended table of contents, which I included there, which goes into a lot more detail, which means that you can find things. It's done more in a European way of presenting things, if I can put it that way. But as it's an extended table of contents, you can find things relatively quickly by doing it that way. I'm just going to run through a little bit of that. That goes on for some time. Then you've got a large number of cases, of course, to be expected of something like this. And then you get into Chapter 1. Article 3. There we go, we're straight away into TEU. Now, the objectives of the Union set out there, then it goes straight in from there to Article 4, and then you move on from that. We then, if you go to Part 1, Section 2, you can then see the actual way in which the articles are set out, a cartel prohibition and so forth. Then you get the actual structure of the book. You see there's an index which is at the front of each of the main chapters with what they call an overview. You have paragraph numbering at the sides. So as I say, it's a slightly different way of presenting the book, but in fact you can find things reasonably quickly. And then of course you have the way in which they present cases in the European Union. They are set out slightly differently, but you can see how the cases are actually titled. And then going all the way through, there are very few footnotes as such throughout. But if I just open it up, here we go, Part 1, Section 3, Regulations. Again, looking again at what the regulations are. So you have the treaties and the articles, then you have the case law. You've got, again, implementation of the rules on competition. Then you get to the cases. So I hope you can see from that how the book is actually structured. As I say, it's a heavy book. There's some interesting comments on the side there about it. I think it's a very good book, but a word of warning with it, you've got to have some familiarity, I think, with the way in which the European case law is reported and the way it's structured, because initially it's slightly confusing. So until you've got used to it, it's worth having a look at the book on a number of occasions so you get used to the way it's structured. Now, Elizabeth and I say this about the book. Recently launched by Edward Elgar, this book explains European Union competition law in detail, not by means of learned commentary by expert authors, but by actual quotes from relevant passages chosen and extracted from the massive body of European Union jurisprudence. In adopting this virtually unique approach, the two editors, that's Weijer, VerLoren, Themaat and Berend, Reuder, together with 9 other contributors, have produced rather a prodigious feat of scholarly research with this publication. They've gone straight to the sources and done the legwork on European competition law, so to speak, so you don't have to do it. The book contains masses of quotes taken from the Commission and the EU courts, which present article by article, which I showed you at the front, an overview of European Union competition law jurisprudence. And the way it's done is, as I say, you have the article, then you have the cases afterwards. You have the regulations, then you have the cases afterwards. And that's really how the structure of the book operates. The result is a useful and certainly time-saving tool for busy practitioners, either involved with or specialising in European Union competition law. As the editors point out, the European Treaty rules on competition have provoked much thought, argument and ultimately judgments. The aim of the book, therefore, is to explain these rules by placing them together with case extracts from the most important Commission decisions and court cases. The extracts, say the publishers, have been selected for their interpretive value in order to demonstrate clearly how the European Commission and the courts have actually interpreted competition rules. The effect is certainly illustrative, enlightening and downright useful for the scholar or advocate. Exact quotes from the original sources make for convincing evidence if you're arguing a point with someone. Tracking down and quoting from source material is usually what distinguishes careful and accurate scholarship from the casual and slipshod. Being able in this case to apply the exact wording of the essential elements of important cases makes the presentation of advocacy all the more convincing. Fortunately, the wealth of material contained in this volume of round about 900 pages is a book which is quite easy eventually to navigate once you understand the structure of it. The concise table of contents, so you've got the very quick table of contents, then a much more detailed set of contents, give precise detail, and it indicates the logical two-part structure of the book. Part 1 gives you the competition provisions of the European Union treaties and the main European Union regulations on competition law. Part 2 contains the relevant provisions of the Charter of Fundamental Rights of the European Union and the European Convention on Human Rights. Obviously, so it's got both of them included. The extensive index at the back, and it's a big index, is useful for looking up specific subject matter, and there's a formidable table of cases and a section probably comprising of at least 35 pages. So you've got a large amount of information to find. As the concept behind the book has generated a monumental amount of research, it's obviously an invaluable research tool for the practitioner. What is perhaps not quite so obvious is that it's been designed for everyday use, particularly for those advising or seeking formal or authoritative sources and source material to support legal analysis and argument. So if you're involved professionally in advising on any aspect of European Union competition law, this book should definitely be in your professional library. And the publication date is cited at the 18th of March 2014. And I'm actually recording this a year later. There's the book again, just to open it in the middle. You've got, there we go, you've got a standard article there. You see the structure of the content. Then you've got a case at the bottom of it, which sets out very clearly what the effect of that article is. There's the index again, just to remind you, it's a very big index at the back. And if I can just remind you at the front, because the index and the contents, the extended table of contents, are where you will find the information you may well be seeking. And as I say, you have the paragraph numbering on the sides, which I do think is helpful. And there's not very much, fortunately, by way of footnotes. Anyway, thank you very much to Elgar Commentaries, which is the title of this series, and to the two editors, and all involved in this excellent publication on European competition law. Thank you. Bye-bye.